Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, whatever time you may be watching. It is once again TGR Nation. It is Formula V. We are live at Snetterton for week number 2, for round number 2. It's the 300 layout with a 25-degree temperature. I'm Alexa Marshall, joined by Sam Fitzpatrick as like last week, and he will also be bringing you all the camera shots to come your way this afternoon. It is season 2, and Sam, it's going to be a very, very interesting race this week after what we saw in the Great White North for race number 1 last.
Yeah, it was a really fun race that we had at Lime Rock Park last time out, very synonymous with these cars. And this should be a pretty good layout as well. Snetterton 300 is a very complex circuit, but for these cars, it will still feel pretty expansive. Overtaking will be very possible, plenty of overtaking places around the track, and it will be great to see these cars take to the circuit once again.
Yeah, most definitely, and we're looking at free practice right now. It seems like we've got quite a lot of drivers out there. We do have some newcomers as well. One of those is going to be Ray White. They are already up top, Sam. 2-minute 13.842. Of course, I'm not as familiar with these Formula V cars, but you definitely are. With a 300 layout, how do you think the lap times are looking so far, especially with about 10 minutes left on the practice clock?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what a strong time is necessarily, especially, you know, with the different conditions that you get in iRacing can vary a lot, but I've seen Zach in a lot of other series in the past, particularly like GT3 cars. I've seen him race quite a bit, and he's always one of the front-running drivers. He's one of the absolute best drivers we see in pretty much any series he takes part in. We believe he's the defending champion as well from last season. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it last week, and of course, it is tricky being based down under. He's representing New Zealand. Can't quite remember if Zach is racing in New Zealand or whether he's racing from Australia, but yes. Very early in the morning for him at the moment, probably about probably about 6 in the morning right now for Zach, and so yeah, not easy for him to take part, but it seems like he's very awake in this practice session because that's quite a gap, 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the good things about what we see across this grid as well. There's so many different nationalities. Of course, you've got the Kiwi on top with the Brazilian driver of Tostes, P number 2, with Gapinski in P number 3, representing the US of the A, with Ho with no nationality apparently in P number 4. Then we got a Canadian in P number 5, a Spaniard in P number 6, 2 more Americans, then an Irishman, and then you've also got Taylor, which I believe that's a Poland flag, but it may be Indonesia.
Or it could be Monaco. I think they all have very similar flags.
Yeah.
So, I'm not exactly sure at first glance, but yeah, it's great to see such a multinational series as this. I think these cars, really do attract people from all corners of the globe, and yeah, it's really cool to see that just from the top 3 places alone. We've got a lot of representation. Currently, we're just in practice, and you can see we've got another 7 minutes of practice to go, and then we'll move into the qualifying session. And then, of course, it's a half-hour race, and hopefully, it all stays nice and clean for today. And of course, not a whole lot of sort of qualifying laps the drivers are going to get today. Of course, they got the 3 laps in qualifying, but that's going to use all the 10 minutes compared to Lime Rock Park, where qualifying was over and done with within really the first half of the session.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 very different circuits. Like, you look at Lime Rock Park, it can be very high speed, as that is Gapsinki, who is in the grass, and now there's Ho going down the main straight. It's very different circuits. If we was on the 200 layout of Snetterton, then I would make an argument that the lap times would be a lot quicker, but this is the 300 layout, so you've got that big infield, which is of course on the inside. So it's a very different circuit compared to Lime Rock, and how is that going to really affect these drivers? As we were talking before this, Sam, that final sector especially with that long right-hander, it's definitely going to make it a bit more tricky to make some overtakes around here.
Yeah, that's... I'm not quite sure where we're going to see most of the overtakes done, honestly, because I think Montreal's a chance. Obviously, we've got this long back straight into the left-right, but of course it's quite tricky to necessarily outbrake another driver. It's really one of the most demanding circuits, I think, or one of the most demanding corners, sorry, on iRacing, this next one, because you're braking and turning simultaneously, and then you've got a huge curb on the inside when it comes to the right. Thiessen just driving it a little bit too deep there. You can see just sort of miss the social curve. You want to be just skimming that, but crucially not hitting it, otherwise you'll compromise the car. And then of course we've got this slightly changed quorum corner at the end. Hasn't always been like this, was changed about 15 years ago, so Snetterton could host some bigger events. I'm not a big fan of it. Used to sort of be more of a shorter 90-degree right corner heading into a chicane, and then that would put you onto the pit straight, but now we've got this one, and then of course another long straight down into T1, and maybe even a chance at a run to the line as well. We saw it at Lime Rock Park, of course, second place coming down to a run to the line, and here as well the finish line is pretty far down the straight, so it's not going to be over until everyone has crossed that checker flag.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we'll look at it, and he is top in free practice. Can confirm that he is the current reigning champion, that being Ferratre White. So it's going to be interesting to see what the reigning champion can do around here, as it is Indonesia for Taylor, as they are now down into P number 11. So that is a nice lap time there for them. Schweening now coming down the main straight as well, the German driver, and it is the fourth European driver highest up. And chat, if you can let us know, because I cannot tell what that flag is. Yusupov, I have no idea what nationality and what flag that is, Sam.
I might embarrass myself here, but I believe it's Uzbekistan. I could be wrong on that one though, so please do correct me. We can get the flag up for you now, in fact. But yeah, there it is. So yes, please correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I believe it's Uzbekistan. But you can also see there the iRatings for each of the drivers, and it's pretty mixed. We've got Mark Schweening, who's 3.7k, which is about my iRating as well. I'm around 3.7, 3.8. albeit don't race a whole lot myself nowadays. But yeah, I'm sure Mark would absolutely stomp me in these cars, certainly. But we can see, you know, we've got Tostez up there, 2.6k, very, very strong. We had, of course, drivers last time out who were up at 10k. Zach is at 6.6, but I think a lot of that has been accrued in GT3s, which is maybe the hardest category to get iRacing in, because it's got such strong strength and depth, does GT3 cars, and so that's a very impressive rating for Zach. But yeah, that gives you an idea of sort of the seedings, I guess, for the drivers, sort of where we expect them to finish. But you can see it's not necessarily very accurate. We've got drivers of different ratings up and down the field.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the good things which we like about seeing racing like this, though. When you have so many different people with so many different iRatings and they're all up against each other, it does create that interesting aspect of, is there going to be any mistakes? Like for some of the lower iRated drivers who may only be starting to be new to the game, it's a good learning experience as well, with trying to racing against somebody who has such high iRating can definitely help you out in trying to find all of that time when it comes down to it. With the time still being 2:13.842, Wyatt is now coming back out onto the circuit with just under 2 minutes remaining here, Sam. So Pedacchio is now coming down the main straight, as well as Yusupov, who's now going down into Brundle and Nelson. And this may just be my GT3 experience. It may be very different in a Formula V, Sam, but Bomb hole is definitely going to create an interesting aspect. Of course, that being the right-hander after you exit Nelson. But, of course, the track does dip on the inside a little bit at the apex.
Yeah, I think that's how it's got its name in the first place, isn't it? And unfortunately, even with the sort of reconstruction of the circuit about 15 years ago, they managed to keep that area of the circuit pretty much untouched. But I think in these cars, with the power being slightly lower, I think we saw Yusupov go through there just now. It's actually flat out for these cars, so it's not quite as tricky. And it's so sort of flat out that you can actually pick up a bit of a draft and maybe even have a go into Coram if you got a particularly good run coming out of Brundle and Nelson just previous. So yeah, some opportunities. It sort of very much changes the circuit whenever you sort of drive these Formula V cars. Even T1 isn't going to be too far away from being flat out, which will help them overtake into this hard braking zone into Montreal. And then let's ride on board for a little bit through the infield, which is maybe the part of the circuit that some people may not be so familiar with. So I really like the exit on this one. You can really run all the way out onto that curb and sort of clip the grasses. I think we're just going to transition over now, so we might lose contact on this. But yeah, this is the middle sector of this Snetterton circuit, and yeah, sort of quite ordinary corners through there, very flat corners as well, and the drivers are going to have to nail them all. But we now move into the 10-minute quali.
Yeah, so qualifying will get underway very, very shortly, and of course the infield section we couldn't get the full of it, but we will just go through the corner names right now. Of course, turn number 3 being Palmer, that left-hander we went through. Agostini, turn number 4. That's going to be an interesting point, because if you're brave enough, you can send it down the inside or do a switchback going through Hamilton of turn number 5, turn number 6 going to be Giggy's, and then Williams of turn number 7, which of course takes you down to Brundle and Nelson. Just heading through turn number 1 of Richie's now for the reigning champion of Rattray White. So this track, especially with that infield section, Sam, creates a very interesting aspect, because you go into the infield and then you're basically coming back on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. You really don't lose any of sort of the 200 circuit when you use this layout. So yeah, it does absolutely add quite a bit to the lap time. It's probably going to be pretty much the longest track that we have this season. But yeah, I think it should be good. And I mean, corners like Agostini, which is the corner that Zach White is heading towards very slowly at the moment. He's not pushing these tires too hard on the outlap, but corners like that are going to be like real big overtaking opportunities when it comes to this car. So yeah, plenty of slipstreaming. We'll see if someone like Zach White can actually break the drafts to the other cars, or whether we're going to see everyone bunched together, a bit like what we saw at Lime Rock Park last time. But I'm a bit surprised just how slowly Zach is going on this outlap. They should have time to set all 3 of their laps. They've got 10 minutes and they can set 3 flying laps, but obviously you have the outlap as well. So a lap time around here is about 2 minutes 15. So you can imagine that's going to be about 9 minutes 15 in order to get in all of your laps for this track, or maybe 9 minutes on the dot. So they've got about a minute to play with, so they can't be too slow. Zach probably pushing it a little bit here.
Yeah, it may be down a setup, or it may just be a conservative measure, like going very deep just before turning into the apex due to the low speed he's doing. He can do that, so he got away with that. But now it is going to be Chris Lim Chi Ho, and now down the main straight, of course, it being the center straight, you've got Bentley in the back. And he's now going to start the run down towards Richie's. We will see here if it is going to be flat out for turn number 1, or if it's going to be slightly flat out going into the right-hander. Little drop down before revving it back up, and it is not flat out, but he holds on to it. Now down towards Montreal, that being the hairpin, which is now, usually you turn left for the 200 layout, but instead it's a full hairpin. You go straight on and you head it down to Palmer, of course, the left-hander, which takes you past the elevated viewing on the right-hand side. As you can see, the fans right there, and you now begin it the run further down, and it is going to hold onto it for the time being. Of course, you've also, well, we will see later on in qualifying, once these first runs are done, a few colours pop up on the boards. If you see green, it's a personal improvement for the driver. If you see yellow, there is no improvement. And if you see purple, that is a session fastest. And now through the left-hander of Hamilton and into the braking zone for the right-hander of Oggies. I said Giggies earlier. It's Oggies, and then now into Williams and onto the Bentley straight. This is where we're most likely going to see a lot of drafting coming out of Williams in the main race when we get down to it. And now down the back straight, you close in as quickly as possible, but of course these are Formula V cars, so you got quite a bit of time on the back straight. And he is going to get up to 156, 157, or 163 there apparently for a moment. That may be iRacing doing things. Through the right-hander of Nelson and then into Bombhole. It is through the right-hander. You can see the track dip and almost very, very wide, right on the limit there. And now into the long right-hander of Coram. So it is going to be very tight. He's holding the line. He's keeping it as tight as possible into the braking zone of Murray's, into the left-hander, onto the centre straight, and he now begins to run down to the main start line. It seems like he lost the fastest middle sector. What about this final sector, though, as he comes now to the line, and it is going to be in the position for a P number 2, as the current fastest driver, actually, is going to be Alan De Gassis, and that quickly gets dethroned by Rodrigo Tostes. But is it going to be this man? It looks like it's going to be. Zach Rattray White is going to come to the line and goes to pole. No surprise there for the reigning champion, and that's 8/10, Sam.
Yeah, well clear. Fastest in each of the sectors as well, I believe. So, yeah, just in a league of his own right there is Zach White, and that's quite the marker to put down. Tostes in a comfortable second position, then a big gap back to De Gassis. Still got about half our drives yet to set a lap time. Michael Thiessen, he's going to be next across the line. Let's see how far he can get up on this lap. And it's, that's Kapinski. He improves, but the Joe who we're watching, Thiessen, did not improve. So, did not set a lap time. Clearly picked up a 1x at some point, and that is why they are still not on the timing board.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another thing with this circuit as well, especially here in qualifying. Where are the track limits? Because at other circuits, like we may not go to them, but like if you look at other circuits like Cota, you look at Montreal, you look at Paul Ricard, there's very clear track limits. Whereas on a track like Snetterton, your track limits is the grass. So realistically, where could you pick up a track cut without costing yourself too much time?
Yeah, there's going to be a few sort of track extension elements. I mean, like around this corner, for example, T1, you can go onto the grass a bit. You don't ideally want to. I think it's going to be a couple of corners further around. I'll try to see if I can find someone. Andrew James. Here we go. On the exit here, you can go all the way onto that green stuff. Not the grass, but like the green, like sort of plasticky, curvy stuff. You can go all the way onto that, all four wheels off the track. But as long as you don't dip a wheel onto the grass itself. So there's a couple of corners like that where, yeah, you can track extend onto the curb, but not beyond the curb. So keep an eye out for that. Tostes is about to set an improvement, potentially. Looks faster. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near Zach White. But actually, it wasn't an improvement. Just fell away from him a bit at the end. So he remains in P2.
Yeah, going to remain in P2. Still 8 tenths clear is the reigning champion. 2 minute 13.732 is the time to beat at this current time on the circuit. And right now, it looks like there is a few improvements, but it's only really happening with the drivers who are yet set a lap time. So that'll be them getting their laps in. Matthias Marin is going to be coming towards the end of his lap. Also going to have Michael Festis, who is currently making his way through as well. But Matthias Marin is now closing in towards the end of his time. And there is Thiessen, who gets up into P number 9. So, and now that is going to be Matthias Marin into P number 11. That is Schweening, who is now into P number 5. A very good time for the German driver to get him into the middle of it, Sam.
Yeah, that's a nice improvement from him, isn't it? The car number 12. And not far away from potentially even getting onto the second row of the grid if you can find a little bit more pace. David Babson across the line. Oh, he was very slow in first sector. Maybe that was just an outlap. But I think the time runs out at the 10 minutes. So that this is it basically for the drivers. They've got to complete the lap that they're on because they're not going to be allowed to complete a lap that they start. Pedaccio moves up to 14th. Hanley improved a few moments ago. Can he improve again? Yes, he can. Found about a second and a half actually on that second lap and moves up into 10th place. So good effort from him. Yusupov improved as well to P16. Who else can get to the line? These guys can. We've got less than a minute to go. You need to be in the second half of the lap if you're going to get to the line. But Chris Lim Chi Hao and Daniel Taylor are both in a position perhaps to find those improvements.
Yeah, possibly to look for an improvement is going to be interesting between these drivers. It seems like Daniel Taylor may be on for it. However, the first 3 sectors looked good, but the lower ones are done not so much. Daniel Taylor gets up into P number 6. Of course, we had the Gassis as well there get up into P number 3 in the dying embers. So it's an American second row at the current moment, and then it's a Kiwi in pole with a Brazilian P number 2. Is there going to be a possible counter? Only to Schweening, as that is going to be Rob Wright, the Canadian, who goes up 1 position into P number 7. Here comes Rattray White, the reigning champion, and it is now going to be a even better improvement to make it 9 tenths, 213.7. 213.5, I think I saw there at the dying moment.
Yeah, he improved by a 10th on that last lap. Was a couple of, I think all 3 were improved sectors, so very impressive for him there. Let's go through the grid then. So it's Zach White on pole position ahead of Rodrigo Tostes, Alan Degassis, Sean Kabinski, Chris Lim Chi Hao, Daniel Taylor, Rob Wright, Mark Schweening, David Babson, Neil Hanley, Michael Thiessen, and Matthias Marin around our top 12. Behind that, it's Alex Bradley, Andrew James, Facundo Bedaccio, Mirzan Yusupov, Rich Matthews, Scott Lanham, Dario Sartori, Jackson Bari, Joel Bagada, Zen Carr, Kirk Stanley, Jason Archer McMillan, and that's everyone. They fit nicely onto 2 rows of 12, and so that is our grid for today's race.
It is going to be, and this is very different to last week, Sam. We have a rolling start, I believe, because I see the drivers and a safety car on the back straight.
We do have that, yes. I could honestly, like, so I'm pleased that you remember what happened last week, because I was like, did we do this last week? I guess we did.
No,
I wasn't going to question it, but now that you remind me, no, absolutely, we had a standing start. So I think in real life these cars genuinely have a rolling start. So I'm not sure if this was deliberate or whether it's just like a track-specific thing, perhaps. I'm not quite sure.
We shall see, as we do wait for it to get underway, because I'm not going to lie, that safety car looks a bit like a monster car.
I'll get you a better angle of it. It's a Porsche.
Oh, it was just a game playing mind tricks then, because from the front angle when we were going through the grid, it looked like it had monster car wheels. So who doesn't love a Porsche? A Porsche makes a great safety car. And oh wait, somebody is in the pit lane.
Yeah, we've got a few drivers back in the pit lane actually. So we've got Scott Lanham, Rich Matthews, and let's see if we can get you images of any of them. No, well, you can't actually take to the grid until all the pace cars come round, I think. So they're not showing, but yeah, you're absolutely right. We've got 5 drivers starting from the pits.
So that is 5 drivers in the pit lane, so 19 will take the start. Of course, you've got the Porsche coming around, the pace car. You will see it pull off to the side, I believe, and you will see it come into the pits. So now all these drivers are going to make their way through. Of course, it is a New Zealander and a Brazilian who line up on the front. It is then going to be the Americans who sit in P number 2 and P number 4 respectively. The safety car comes in here at Snetterton as there is a car off in the grass on this start, and it goes all lies to the lights. 5 lights on. Green flag drops and we are racing. This is going to be a very, very good start. For Radre White, it's going to be the Gassis versus Tostes, already down into turn number 1 of Ritchie's. Going to go down towards the hairpin of Montreal. Going to be up against each other. All these drivers are a nice little fight. Daniel Taylor gets past Rob White. Barry gets past Bradley. And then you're also going to have Gibskinky and of course Chi Ho, who now got to be up against in that fight. Tostes has lost out. That's 2 positions gained for the Gassis, I believe. And then now down into the right-hander. Daniel Taylor at 1 position since the start, heading now down into the infield section here at the Snetterton circuit. 2 drivers off, almost into the grass, almost having it. Bergada gets past Padico, and he is now into the left-hander, dive down the inside. He's going to be there for Schweening in the purple, gets it done. Rob White loses that position. Padacio gets past Bergada, and now that's the Spaniard who's going to lose out to the Argentinian. And then now it's going to be making their way through. The Indonesian driver of Taylor having a nice little time in that fight. Bergada, as that's going to be Padacio, who is now losing out on that race start. James has got past him. Marin's lost out to Dabson, who gets past them. Did something happen to Babson? And it looks like they are, because they're going very, very slowly as the rest of the grid comes down the back straight, Sam.
Yeah, Mark Schweening with a little bit of a bad run here. He's just been not given the draft from the other drivers, and after a strong start might lose a couple of the places that they gained. There they are in the purple car, and they go into the back. And 3 of those cars all having issues. The other one, and we've got another car off as well. Real mess down that part of the circuit. I think Schweening went straight into the back of Gapinski, and I think Yusupov, or maybe it was Daniel Taylor, I think may have been put off by all that. Michael Thiessen managed to be a big gain, and we'll try to get you some replays in a little bit of all of that once sort of the action settles down a bit. But yeah, that's a lot of changes. We can see so far the change in the position so far, as we've got another off for Dario Sartori.
Yeah, very, very tricky there. It seems just a tap into the braking zone, so there's not much. It's quite interesting looking at the positions overall. Of course, the biggest gainer being Bergada, 11 positions up since the start of this race. Next closest is Carr. Gapinski, who is now going to be coming into the pit lane. Of course, Matthew, Archer McMillan and Stanley out of this race. So Gapinski will drop down to P number 21, and that's going to cost them. In fact, no, they just only drop down to P number 20. So 16 positions lost for them. That's very unfortunate so far for him this evening.
Overtake here for Thiessen to get past Wright. So I think Thiessen gained 3 places by barely doing anything midway round the previous lap as everyone else went off in front of him, and now he's going to try to gain another place. Wright still with his car partially alongside, and Wright manages to get back past, and now Thiessen's going to have to be looking behind him rather than looking ahead, because he may well lose another place. Manages to hold on to it, at least around this next section of the track.
Yeah, so they hold on to it, heading now through, of course, heading through Williams, one of the iconic British racing teams. As that is a car off in the background. That's on the other side of Williams. So I believe that's actually at the hairpin. And now down this back straight, you've got this battle which is happening behind. You've got Taylor, you've got Thiessen. Now down into the left-hander of heading down into Brundle, and then Nelson. And they're holding on to it, and you got loads of fights. Like you got Babson, who's just got that move done, and or just holding on to it. And we've seen quite a few fights here, Sam. A few incidents so far, which of course the stewards will be looking at. But we're not even 5 minutes in yet.
Yeah, it's been very chaotic, hasn't it? Rob Wright. Battle is not over either, because back comes Taylor again. Remember, he nearly got overtaken by Thiessen on the previous lap. Right, managed to fend that one off, but Taylor is his next challenger, and Taylor almost getting their nose ahead before they get into T1. A slightly wider line, and maybe that extra distance costing them a bit, because into Montreal doesn't look like the move is going to be on, so they will stay in the same order. I will get replays of all that stuff going on at the start. But yeah, just trying to wait till some of this calms down, because Thiessen might be under pressure from Hanley next. The Irish driver with a strong start, up 2 places, and then an even stronger start for Bagada, up 12 places from their race starts.
Yeah, we've seen as Pedasio is in that battle with Babson in the back as well. Of course, just getting that move done in that very, no, I wouldn't say rudimentary, but very iconic. The classic black with the white racing line. It makes it very easy, as there's a puff of smoke coming out of one of the cars apparently, or it just seems like it's going over the track a little bit and it's causing steam to come up. And now here we go, we do have Rich Matthews, as that is apparently the wrong person.
Stuff, yeah. I've just seen all the instance of crashing so far, so basically whenever a driver has come to a stop. And this is what happened to Marin on lap 1.
Yeah, so lap number 1, we see what's going to happen here, and
man.
That is
That was Yusupov on the inside, I think. I think it was the car number 13, which collided with Marin, so bad luck there.
Yeah, it seems just looking for a move around the outside, but then the driver on the inside the car just understeers going through the corner slightly. And there's not much that either driver can really do at that point, as that is Barry, as I believe we saw this in the background while we were watching that battle earlier on. So that was the spin there. We got Andrew James here as they're coming down into, I believe this is going to be into Williams, and then into the right-hander. Oh, that is what happens. No, that is at Montreal.
That's Babson.
Just
in front, yeah.
That's at Montreal. So that's at the hairpin, and then we are back to the live racing action, Sam.
Yeah, so I don't think we caught everything from that lap 1 stuff, but that was the only stuff that I could find. As we've got, that was a double move for Thiessen there to move through, as Wright's having some connection issues. Hopefully we'll see him come back. Yeah, he is back, and he's ahead of all these drivers, so that's worked well, that little job, because it looked like Thiessen had got him done and dusted there. Bagada's got past Hanley whilst we were just going through those replays, And so Bagada now up 13 places, up into P8 overall. Any opportunities for moves down into here? No, right, just covers it off nicely, but he's not fast enough, it looks like, to break the jar from these guys. So it's going to be a long 22 minutes if he's going to finish P5 in this race.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna go through this real quickly because it seems like we have got one thing wrong this race, Sam. Of course, in the game it says that it's Montreal hairpin, but it's actually called Wilson now, as that is going to be Bagada getting past Taylor. So
it was named after Wilson, famous IndyCar driver. So yes, I'm forgetting the first name. Apologies, but yes, yeah, named after a racing driver. Yeah, so yeah, I think that is the new name. You're right.
Yeah, it did change for 2025. So even though it is Montreal in game, it is in real life now called Wilson. So as we now head through the right-hander of Coram, so all the other corner names are the same, and then now down into the braking zone of Murray's into at the very end of the long right-hander. It's very elongated. You don't realise how long you're going through it until you've got cars like Formula V, and then onto the centre straight as well. So, going to have that little draft, looking to get past. William Thiessen is now going to be up against Rob Wright, and now that is going to be the American driver who is going to possibly get past. It seems like he has. He's going to go very wide on the exit into Ritchie's, and that's going to give Bagada an opportunity to follow through. And now it's also going to be there for him down into Wilson, and they're going to hold on to this, but that was a very interesting fight there. We got Gabsinki as Dabson is into the pit lane, and then down into the braking zone into Wilson. Very, very deep there for Matthias Marin. That's going to give Schweening an opportunity to fly by. Just door opens. Thank you very much. He goes down the inside. Rob Wright now there, going to hold on to his current place, but Bagada looks like he's going to be trying to fight him back. Looking for a switchback, but Rob Wright is going to hold on to that place and going to hold on to that line, especially as they now head into Hamilton's. But he has got Bagada all over the back of him.
Justin Wilson, of course, is the legendary driver, which the corner is named after. Yeah, Rob Wright has done so well to hold on to this space, but it looks like Bagada is faster than all these guys. And clearly that qualifying down in 21st place. I don't think he even set a lap time, I think, in qualifying, did Bagada. So he was well out of position, and now he is back to sort of where he should be. So I think the Spaniard will be passed quite soon. Is he just waiting here? So going to Brundle and Nelson, not pulling the trigger quite yet, maybe thinking that T1 is the best opportunity. We saw Wright be very vulnerable down into T1 on the previous lap when Thiessen was attacking, wasn't able to pull it off, was the American on that occasion. But Bagada might be fancying his chances, but he's got to be careful that he's not not taken by the car behind around this part of the circuit. You can be marked quite easily into the final corner. Now we head onto this straight, and with the gap just a quarter of a second, I think this is looking very, very good for Joel Bagada.
Yeah, gonna hold on to it, and you hop onto the front wing, you get right under it, you saw the gearbox, you saw the engine, and Bagada is gonna be wheel to wheel, side by side down the main straight, free astern, of course, the centre straight, and then the Bentley's in the back, going into the right-hander now of Ritchie's, and that is the move, done and dusted. Big one for Bagada. That puts him 16 positions up since the race start. Schweening is 5 positions down since the race start, so this is a very, very different from what we saw from Schweening last week, Sam.
Yeah, I think him and Marin are just passing so much that maybe they're costing each other a little bit of time right now. And again, we saw it on the previous lap. Marin really drives it way too deep into Montreal, or Wilson, apologies, and loses that place again. So these guys are sorts of batsing, and it's costing them a bit of time. Sartori, who I think had issues near the start of the race. He's just ahead of Babson, but not for long. Here comes Babson again. And Babson moves up into 16th place there. Excellent work from him.
Yeah, excellent work. Just a nice little move to make it work. And I think that's one thing that you have to think about sometimes is, do I go for the move or do I not? If you just want to get, you can get a little position and then you can see what will happen from there. As down the back straight, of course, this being Bentley's, it's now going to be wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side. Bagada is on the defensive as it is now going to be up against this fight as Rob Wright is going to get ahead in that timing section into the left-hander now. Almost touching. You've got Taylor versus Feasted as well. And you've got two little fights here, which we are watching, and these guys are going absolutely at it. Daniel Taylor down one position since the race start, but I would say that is not too bad for the Indonesian driver as Lanom gets past his countryman of Satori, and now into the left-hander onto the main straight of Senna again.
Yeah, once again, it's this draft train that we get on the pit straight, and there's very little defense for Wright as Bagada moves back ahead again, albeit it's not quite as convincing this time, and Wright is able to fight back. Here comes Taylor again. So yeah, we keep seeing drivers get to this second position in the train, but then they can never really get into the lead and then pull away, as here comes the inside move from Taylor. And he manages to get underneath Wright as well, albeit Wright maybe has the slightly better exit and will just stay ahead. But that battle's going to continue for a lot longer. I think there may have been an issue for Bradley, and there is. Let's get a replay of what's just happened to him.
Yeah, it looked like, in the background, it did look like very wide. You can see Schreening in the background as well, battling with the Canadian of Marin. We will go to the replay here. So coming down out of Ritchie's, down into Wilson, and then into the right-hander. Does he throttle up too much? Oh, no, it's very wide onto the grass, and we all know what grass is like, Sam. We're from the UK. You go onto it, it's nice and it's very slippy, and it will send you around like that.
Yes, yeah, it can be very, very bad, especially on iRacing. Let's go a replay of what happened to Kapinski on that one, because this was one of the bigger incidents. I've just been able to find it, which we didn't see at the time. Oh, we did see it at the time, but we didn't get a great angle of it. There was a bit of movement. Oh, man, so it was a double hit, wasn't it, for the purple car? And then, wow, look at that one. That was the 24 who came in and absolutely, that was Jackson Barry, who seemingly just like lost control and caused even more mayhem around that part of the circuit. So, yeah, really chaotic first lap there. So, yeah, just wanted to show you that one.
Yeah, luckily enough, the driver's still able to go on. These cars can be very, they can be a bit of a brick sometimes, is the way I'm going to say it. You can take a bit of damage to it, and it's still going to drive perfectly fine. If that was an F3, an F2, or an F1 car, I think it would be safe to say the front wing would be off, and that is, I think that was Taylor, actually, who went very wide on the exit. Yes, it was. There's Rob Wright. There's Taylor. So Taylor went very deep into Murray's, and that has made him fall off the back of Wright. And now Bagada is going to have a chance to close in as we head through Ritchie's.
Yeah, we could see him move a little bit further back as well. Hanley very close to Thiessen. Thiessen looks to the inside, and Thiessen gets back that position again. And sorry, I think just as we cut away from that, Bagada, I think, had a... did he have a run at Taylor and wasn't able to get it done though. Now gets underneath and heading to this next section then. Could well have the opportunity that he needs into Agostini to overtake. And that is what he does. He is up into 6th position. Again is Bagada. He has been in 6th position before. He was for a lap in 5th position even. But he keeps oscillating up and down right with these guys battling. Now got about 1.5 seconds, so maybe has broken the draft enough to pull away.
Yeah, speaking of breaking the draft to pull away, we're at we are past the halfway mark now, and Zach White is 7.4 seconds, now make it 7.5, off into the lead. So he is absolutely flying away in this one. Should we be surprised considering he is the reigning champion? I mean, just look at that from lap number 4 through to lap number 7. He's opened that gap up by a second per lap, it seems.
Yeah, very impressive from Zach. And Degas's not a bad driver. 4.6k is Degas's. He's doing a good job at holding off Tostes. He sort of got that position, I think, in the early stages. Tostes could get it back if he wants to, but I think these guys are sort of just driving in tandem at the moment. No, we are going to see an overtake then for Tostes. Goes to the outside, will get his nose just about ahead into T1, but we've seen this outside line at T1 not work great so far, and actually Tostes wasn't really actually wanting them, maybe backs out of it quite willingly. So those guys just working together, making sure they don't fight too much, otherwise this man, Chris Lim Chi Hao, might catch up to them, and then of course we can go back to this colossal battle with Bagada still just ahead of Taylor. He's just ahead of Hanny, he's just ahead of Thiessen. Babson and Padacho are still battling, and they've got Andrew James not far behind either. These guys are going to be very close to one another heading into Murray's, and with that wide move for Babson, he may have to look behind rather than ahead, because Andrew James is going to have a very good shot, as I think Neil Hanley has made a mistake.
Yeah, it seems like it, and that is going to be James who now gets the move done on Babson. So that's happened while we were looking at this. Let's have a look at the replay. What happens here? Is it contact? Nope, just on his own, throttling up a bit too fast and a bit too early, and the rear wheels spin up, the car goes round, and that is a mistake which does happen in just any racing series that you see. But we know what these Formula V cars are like from last week, Sam. They don't really go anywhere. They kind of just spin on the racing line.
Exactly. Yeah, that's certainly my experience in these cars. And I think, I guess a similar car in this platform as well is the Formula Ford cars as well. And they sort of act in a similar way where, yeah, when you spin, you do just, spin on a top rather than sort of spin off the circuit. So, yeah, it can be really troublesome just having an innocent self-mistake, and then someone else can come across you and not be able to avoid. That was Matthias Martin. Apologies, maybe we're watching the wrong person, because that's Andrew James, apologies, who I think was just making a move on Babson. He's actually cleared both Babson and Padacho in this past half lap. So Andrew James looking a bit faster than these guys. He's 17 seconds behind the next car though, so I think he will just be focusing on maintaining that P15 to the end of the race. Let's come back to these guys, because we're back on the pit straight, and that means an overtake. And Bagada has caught back up to Rob Wright. We thought Rob Wright may have pulled away enough to break the draft. He got us about 1.3 seconds ahead at one point, but it seems like it was not enough. And Bagada is almost past, but Wright holds on through T1.
Yeah, it seems like, looking at the timings, it's sector number 2 where the time is being picked up from Bagada. So that is possibly where he caught Rob Wright, especially down that back straight, possibly just closing in with a bit of fast slipstream, then holding it on through the final sector, through of course Nelson, Bob Hole, Coram, and then that sets you up onto the main straight, of course. So seems like that's where he caught up during that time. Is he going to be able to go for it now, though? Going to head it down into Agostini and right up against him. Hamilton will be next. Looked like he tried to set up the switchback, but did not work out that time. So now we head into the left-hander, and then you'll have the right-hander as well into Williams. And then, of course, the draft train will pick up again down Bentley's.
Yeah, Daniel Taylor might be in a good position for that as well. Michael Thiessen's dropped back a bit from these guys, now 1.6 seconds, so it's just a trio battling for that 5th position now. Let us know in chat, by the way, who you are supporting, and we're a bit more likely to show them on stream, so just let us know. And yeah, so let us know as well what you think of the racing action so far, as we have another change for 5th position. But Rob Wright is very good at holding on in these situations. That time he just doesn't even try though. He lets him go, knows that there's going to be opportunities later on, but then drives it in too deep. And Daniel Taylor will go through it, almost as though Bagada was a bit late on the brakes himself, and that sort of caught out Wright, who was lured into that suddenly late braking point. And they both ran wide, and Daniel Taylor Faye happily took the position from the pair. Oh, from one of them, apologies.
I mean, you take one position and then you'll try to look at the driver in front of us. That is Matthias Marin, who is in the grass. What has happened here? So this is coming down the Bentley straight. Going to head into the left-hander now. Is it a touch on the sausage curb? No, the rear wheels just spin out and he loses all traction, and that is off and into the grass. As Rob right now in that position, right in the middle. Of course, Bagada in front, Taylor behind, and then now down into Wilson and into the right-hander, getting very tight towards that sausage curb, heading onto the infield. Palmer is going to be coming up next, and I am surprised there is no Bellingham, Saka, Tony, Trent, but it is now down towards Agostini instead, and then into the, looks like he tried to go for the left, but he's now going to have to settle onto the right hand side into the braking zone, trying to hold it around the outside, but Bagada is going to have that defensive move done, and that is how you defend into these corners. Hamilton is the left-hander coming up next. You come back on yourself, and realistically here, Sam, how many meters do we lose here? Like maybe 10 meters, not even that of the actual 200 layout, as that is a car round at Wilson hairpin.
I think it's Padacho this time. And it's these slow speed corners, isn't it, where we see these cars losing the rear end. I mean, to be fair, actually, we saw a driver lose it at Brundo as well, which is one of the highest speed corners on the track. But this really has been a problem spot. And yes, I'm not totally familiar with these cars, but I've driven sort of similarly handled cars. And I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do for myself, but I tend to sort of try to induce a bit of understeer, try to get some early apexes, and yeah, really force the car just to lean on the front tyres. Maybe not the fastest way, but it at least sort of limits your chances of spinning round on a top like that. And a few drivers, suffering from that at the moment. I'm sure as we go through this season, they'll get a little bit more anticipation for when that rear end is going to go, because once it does, it is uncatchable. It's around that quickly. Zen Car, well, we've got a few different battles, but Zen Car I think might be about to be overtaken by Alex Bradley. Only 0.3 of a second behind. Has got a good draft into T1.
The lightning on the car is trying to give the speed, but the slipstream is right there for him. The 369 is right up against him. Bradley is just sticking in the toe, so I think he's going to try set up for a move as he goes a bit wider, heading through Ritchie's, looking for the outside, but looking for it now possibly into Wilson hairpin. Is he a bit too far back though? I would say so, and the 98 is going to hold on to the position for the current moment. Of course, it is unaffiliated, but he is 13 positions up since this race start. I think he may be the second largest gainer, or he may be the largest gainer in this race so far.
Yeah, Joel Bagada's got that honour as it stands. We can see the position gains for each of the drivers here. And yeah, Bagada up 16 places. I think we may have cursed Zen Car because he's had a problem. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so coming now down into, he's coming into Agostini. Is it going to be a spin?
That's quite bad.
No, oh yeah, that is a hit on the rear into Agostini. He loses out that one position, and then he goes and loses another car. We are sorry if we curse you.
I think Bradley needs to take most responsibility for that one, driving into the back. That was, pretty bad stuff there, and might receive a penalty for that. And well, now just in these closing stages, a lot of the battles have got a lot closer. So what this battle, as Degassis, maybe we don't have this battle because Tostes has dropped off quite a bit from Degassis in the past couple of laps, and now Chris Lim Chi Hao is moving into third position. Could Hao still get second place? Remember, he's been a bit detached from this battle for second for this whole race, but has been able to catch up to the third place man. And can he take that line into T1? There's contact between the two, and that's going to cost them both a chance at the podium. Or is it? They've got such a big gap to the other cars. Bagada is the next to come across these guys, and they haven't caught up, so they've remained in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, but now you've got to think about it. How much damage has been picked up there? Of course, the cars could be a bit of a break, but no matter what way you get damage, it's still going to hinder the driving. So that was very synchronized heading into Richie's, but now they hold on to these guys, and I think Bagada, Wright and Taylor would have seen that happening in front, and they're going to be pushing those cars to the absolute limit now. They know that there is a possibility of a podium here, but it's 28 minutes deep now, 2 minutes remain on the clock, and it's going to be interesting. Where is Zach White? Because that is going to determine how much is left in this race. I believe we're going to be going on to the final lap as we go to a replay here. This is from the helicopter, so coming down the main centre straight, very wide on the outside, and I think that's just a turn-in. I think that's on Chris Lim Chi Ho.
I 100% agree. Yeah, I think, frankly, I'm not sure how strict the penalties are in this series, but that should be a penalty. Like, you can't just turn across a Joe like that. Yes, you know, they're a while away, and yes, you're the car on the outside, so you're like, well, maybe I'm the one who's putting myself at risk. But ultimately, he's spun that other car because he's not avoided the room. And of course, your iRacing sponsor will be saying, car alongside, and until you get that, you're clear, then you need to be affording the other car space. So yeah, that was quite naughty there from Howe, and Tostes will be, yeah, at least pleased that he hasn't lost any more than 1 place from that. Kapinski has got back up into P12. Remember, he had issues on lap 1, had to make a pit stop to take his faster pair, and he might still get a couple more cars there. You've got Carr and Hanley up ahead, maybe even Bradley as well, 6 seconds ahead. That's probably a little bit too far because he has only got 1 more lap to go. But yeah, good recovery there. As we cut back to these guys, and we've got a back marker in amongst these drivers as well. But what we need to be watching is Taylor versus Thiessen, which is the most likely position to change in the top 8 before the end of the race.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, they're going down into Richie's now, and they are going to hold on to each other as it is now down out of Richie's, down into Wilson, and then into the brakes. 91 going to hold on to the position, it seems, for the time being, but the gap is not, it's actually closing on the exit. So Thiessen did get the acceleration in a bit quicker or a bit harder going through that corner. Now through the left-hander and down towards Agostini, and it's going to hold on to these guys. How are they going to fare when it comes down to it? Now down to 2 temps, right on the back of him. Final lap, possibly, you would think a dive down the inside, but realistically, I think Thiessen's going to hold this one out until we get onto Bentley, because from there, the draft is going to be absolutely mega for him to use as we head through the left-hander of Hamilton. Bentley is going to be a really, really interesting point.
Yeah, this is going to be a good opportunity. We've also got this battle with Tostes versus Bagada, so we'll try to catch if anything does happen. And then this battle as yeah, of course, we've got this one, and then we've also got Bradley a little bit further back as well. But we might see a move here between Tostes. This is the one that's going to happen next, because Bagada is managing to move his way past, and Bagada is past. Meanwhile, Thiessen versus Taylor, and it's Thiessen ahead in P7.
Yeah, most definitely. And Zach White is now in the dying, is in the final moments, and he is very, very close to it. Zach White, reigning champion, returns and wins. Here in round 2, it's Snetterton. It is his trophy. He will take it, and he is going to be on the top step. Bagada right now trying to close in on Ho, who is just in front of him. Will not work out that time, though. Degassis comes on P number 2. That will give Ho the possibility of P number 3. Bagada versus Tostes, I think that's going to stay as it is. Yes, it will. And right now we got Bradley, who is up against Taylor. Do any of them go deep? No, they will not. But the draft is possibly there for him, but I think he's a bit too far back. So that is going to be Bradley P9, and Hanley will round out the top 10. And that is now going to be Gapinski, who is going to come home P number 12. Schweening P number 13, a far cry from where he was last week. He's going to look to week number 3 now. He's definitely going to look. Oh, no, Marion has got past Schweening. So that is in the final moments. Schweening is Schweening out of fuel?
I think he is. He might get overtaken by James as well before the end. No, has he made it? He did make it. Blimey. And not a lot of time to spare either. That was incredible there for Schweening right at the end. Maybe he was fuel saving for a while beforehand. But yeah, we can go on board with him. And you'll hear the car just splutter.
Yeah.
Oh, apologies. Oh, that's Marion. Apologies. My bad.
Yeah, he just flies past. It's sweet. It's extremely unfortunate. We saw how well he did last week. So seeing him this far down coming into this week, it feels very unfortunate for him. 6 positions down since the race start as well. The car just splutters. It
and
splutters
uphill. There's not many hills in Norfolk. This is the one hill in the entirety of Norfolk, and he's found it when he's run out of fuel, and he just about made it ahead of James and Babson.
Yeah, so just about made it did the German driver. So got very lucky there to keep that position, but very unlucky with where he lost out onto it, and that is very, very unfortunate. But of course, it is going to be, as we are looking at the bottom of the leaderboard, so it is going to be Zach White, reigning champion, returns and wins with a 16-second gap over Degassis, who takes P number 2, and then that's another 10 seconds to P number 3 of Chris Lim Chi Ho, who will round out the podium. It's then the Spaniard of Joel Bagana, who rounds out P number 4, the Brazilian Rodrigo Tostes in P number 5, Rob Wright P number 6, with Michael Thiessen in P number 7, Daniel Taylor P number 8, Alex Bombear Bradley in P number 9, with Neil Hanley to round out the top 10. It's then Zencar, it's Sean Gepsinki, it's then Matthias Marin, Andrew James, Mark Schweening, David Babson, and then of course it's Facundo Pedacchio, as well as Dario Sartori. It's then Mazard, Yosupov, who will be 1 lap down, and then non-finishers are Scott Lanham, Jackson Barry, Rich Matthews, Kirk Stanley, and then of course Jason Archer McMillan. So a few drivers did not finish that race, but I would say no surprise that it is the reigning champion of white, because he flew off from the start. However, Sam, I did notice it in chat earlier on. Thank you, Sully, for letting us know. It was supposed to be a standing start. So it was a mistake that it was a rolling start. So apparently that will be fixed for next week, and that is going to be that for Snetterton.
And just a word as well. You may have seen the results there. That there was actually a change which we didn't think had happened. So I'll just show you a little bit further down. So you can see there, Andrew James did actually get past Schweening. So Schweening, of course, was running out of fuel. And initially on our time tag, it looked like James hadn't quite made it, but actually he had made it. So James managed to get ahead of Schweening, but at least Schweening stayed ahead of Babson. So in the end, they all had a 1 minute 14 behind the leader. So yeah, very close battle between all of those drivers. And yeah, thank you to everyone who tuned in as well. That's pretty much all we have time for. So I'm very much looking forward to next week, Alexa.
We are. It's going to be interesting. We will see where we go next week, and I think Snetterton created an interesting aspect. Of course, round number 1 very different to round number 2. So who knows? It may be very, very different for round number 3. But of course, we'll wait and see. Of course, I'm in Alexa Marshall with Sam Fitzpatrick. Sam has been bringing you all the camera shots this afternoon, and we will see you next week for round number 3. This has been Snetterton. It's been nice and dry. Have a good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you may be watching. Good night.